What's up, guys? Hey, how we doing? Man, I gotta say, I love Triple Crowns, and that 250 racing was awesome. I wish they could do it every week, but I saw how the riders were spent. If they did that, we'd have no riders at the end of the series, but it's fun once in a while. Today, I want to talk about the Juju-Deegan rivalry and how Jordan Smith doesn't care, and he has inserted himself right in the middle of this thing. He doesn't care what they're talking about. He's going out there to win races. And I'm going to give you a kind of summary of the Lucas Mirtl situation so you don't have to go back, watch all the videos. You're more than welcome. And I strongly recommend you go back and watch the Lucas Mirtl interview and listen to the information about how the account is handled, and just, you can make your own opinion on it, but I'm going to give you my summary. And last week, we had this crazy situation where Colin Morrison's privateer team was kicked out of the Feld pits. I'm going to get into that, but that'll be later this week. Don't think I forgot about that one. That is a dirty, rotten thing they did to Scummy, and that was a scummy thing they did to Scummy. So I'll get into that later this week and really break down the control and the way this sport is handled. Thank you to everyone who has reached out. If you sent me your address, you are getting a bottle of Nano Extreme, a sample bottle to try. They are only shipping in North America. So if you're in Canada and the United States, you will get your bottle. If you're outside of that, I'm sorry, they're not shipping there yet. Hang tight. I would love to get you guys handled, but right now they're only shipping in United States and Canada. Shoot me an email, chriscookseymedia@gmail.com, and then please just make your address concise, like name, address, and that's it. So I can copy it and paste it, and we'll get that sample sent out to you. This pain cream is so good. And like I said, don't take my word for it. Send me your address and try it yourself. But if you don't want to wait, hit up Nano Extreme. Use code Cooksey for free shipping. Coach Rob is dropping his Jeremy Martin podcast. I kind of know some of the information that's in this, and I cannot wait to hear what he has to say with Coach Rob about what's next. Jeremy Martin is done racing, and Coach Rob sat down with him and got all the information about his career, what he's doing now. That will drop Monday on the Coach Rob Podcast Network, a week from today. I believe it's February 10th is when the Jeremy Martin interview will drop. Make sure you head over to the Coach Rob Podcast, subscribe, and then check that out.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
So here's a quick summary of where I'm at and what I think about the Lucas Mirtl firing and the situation with him and the Lawrences and accusations and all that stuff. I'm going to summarize this thing pretty quickly, and it all smells wrong. It just doesn't look right. It is strange to me that in this industry, when so many people do so many dirty things, Forrest Butler, Rich Taylor, the media, when I say the media, I'm talking about Racer X, Vital MX, all these people who are on the same narrative. They all follow a certain guidelines, and they play along. If not, you end up like me, getting banned from the events. And that's why I'm banned, because I don't follow their narrative. I say what I want to say, and it made them so mad they have banned me. So I got to set the situation up the way that I see it. Lucas just finished the biggest deal in the history of our sport with HRC and I believe Jet Lawrence. This is going to be the biggest contract that the sport's ever seen. It's done. It will be announced here later this year. And Lucas would be due future commissions of a lot of money. I'm guessing around $6 million, but don't quote me on that number. There's a huge amount of commission from this deal that is headed towards Lucas Mirtl. And the way I see it is, he obviously made some inner office enemies at Wasserman. And if they think this is Lucas's, if they think, oh, he's just the Lawrence's agent, and there's inner office politics all the time. They say, okay, well, he got the biggest deal done. We don't need him anymore. We got Jacob Hayes and Travis Clark. They can do everything from here. Lucas already got the big one done. And if we can get rid of him, we don't have to pay. I don't know Jacob or Travis's salaries, but I'm guessing it's a significantly less amount than what Lucas would have got. And Lucas was vulnerable at this point. He went through the divorce. He had, all that stuff going on. They saw an opportunity where they could use what they kind of told him to do, is use that account that he's personally responsible for to show the Lawrences that he's screwing them over. There's already been fractures between Lucas and the family. Now, this all has to do with Jet. Jet doesn't even know how much he makes. The family doesn't allow him to see any of that. He is treated like a child, even though he's 21. He is on a $3,000 a month stipend, is what I was told. By the way, this didn't come from Lucas Mirtl. This came from my other research. Jet has a girlfriend. When you're 21 and you bring a significant other into your life and you start becoming your own person, well, yeah, she's going to look at it and say, wait, Jet, you only get $3,000? You make so much more than that. So they start asking questions. The family despises Jet's girlfriend. Like I said, this is all allegedly information that I've gathered. So there's fractures between the Lawrence camp and then Lucas, because they're afraid Lucas has the keys to tell Jet exactly what he can do as a man and a human being and what he's owed and what is his money, and that the family doesn't necessarily control him like a child. He's 21. He could do whatever he wants, but I don't think they want Jet to know this. So this was a perfect opportunity to use the fractured relationship, the vulnerable guy in Lucas Mirtl at this time, knowing what he's going through personally, to eliminate him. Now, what gets weird is how this all went public. Now, this could have all happened behind closed doors, and they could have settled this and done their thing, and we wouldn't even have known. We would have heard, okay, Lucas is off the account. But if they don't fire Lucas with cause, they still owe him for what he's negotiated. He would still get his portion of what he negotiated on the gigantic Honda deal that's about to be announced here pretty soon. But like I said, if he's terminated for cause, that money just becomes profit for the Wasserman agency. And I'm not a big fan of this agency. You can check my other videos. I'm not going to go into detail about some of the things that the Wasserman family has been involved in. And I have no idea whether Casey even knows about this deal. He's involved in some other stuff and he's got his own issues. But somebody at that agency had it in for Mirtl and wanted him out. So how do MX Sports and Feld play into this? I don't think this is collusion. This is not MX Sports and Feld working with Wasserman to eliminate a possible threat. But what I do think is they are on the inside. They know the information. All these guys connected, Jacob Hayes, Dan Truman, all these people around have probably been relaying information to Mathis, Coombs. They all know. It's a small industry in that sense, so they know what's going on. They have used this opportunity to eliminate a threat. Lucas did something that nobody else has been able to do. He got merchandise into the pits. That has been argued for and battled for years, that riders need to be able to sell their own merchandise. Feld has staunchly controlled their pits, much like how they kicked Colin Morrison out. That is their pits. They control it. They feel like they're obligated to everything that happens there. Lucas broke that down. Yes, they pretended to be partners because they had to. But that was something where they went, wait a second, this guy's got Jet Lawrence, Hunter Lawrence, and all these guys under contract. He's powerful. He just got us to do this deal. We have the gambling deal. We have the gigantic TV contract that they're going to sign soon, which I estimate at $200 million. If you just look at the streaming numbers and kind of gauge that with what other sports are getting, knowing that NBC just lost IndyCars, they need this demographic very badly. Feld and MX Sports are in a great negotiating position. If they don't get $200 million, they're idiots. That's what it's worth. But they got word of what's happening, and they have been waiting. Now, this is classic Davey Coombs using the power of the pen to manipulate the industry and end up getting what he wants. So if you eliminate Mirtl, you eliminate a threat. Now you got Travis Clark and Jacob Hayes, a couple of guys who just go along to get along. And you eliminate the one guy who thinks for himself. So say what you want about Lucas. They did him in. I'm recording this on Monday. He still has not received a subpoena from that so-called court filing that was announced immediately. That was announced right when it was filed. I don't think it's an accident that it was leaked immediately to Racer X. Steve Mathis did not scour the internet for it. He was at the WPS, and I don't think that, I just have a hard time believing that dude was scouring the internet and happened to come upon it literally hours after it was filed. Yeah, that's very suspect to me. I mean, I don't have proof of that. That's my opinion, but it smells bad. So that's a summary of where we are right now. But Lucas has told his side of the story. He has explained this account and how, I mean, you can say it was dumb to do some of the things he did, but they took advantage of a guy who was in a bad situation. And yes, they completely destroyed him publicly. And I'm just trying to give you an idea why. More will come out. This is far from over. but I commend all the athletes who have stuck by Lucas and they know who he is as a person. I'm pretty sure I know him as a person too. And I listen, Lucas has made a lot of enemies, but I don't think he's guilty of theft. Okay, enough with that garbage. Now to the fun stuff. Triple Crown 250 action in Glendale. Jordan Smith, the human highlight reel, did something I didn't think he could do. He held it together for all three main events and gave Triumph their first SMX win. Not their first professional win, as Ricky liked to say. I don't know if Ricky knows. They had a storied history in motorcycle racing. This is not their first win. This is their first win in modern day SMX competition. And I can't help but be happy for Jordan, the team, and everybody at that organization. That is an incredible feat to come into this sport. 250s are the hardest bikes to develop. You need every ounce of power, and you're going against these monster teams. And I don't mean that as in the Monster Energy, even though they're all sponsored by that. Gigantic teams who have bikes they've been developing for years in Pro Circuit and Star Yamaha, and they have Deegan. And for Jordan Smith on a Triumph in their second year to get a win, wow. I'm sorry, that's flat out amazing. If you told me Triumph was going to come into the sport in the 250 class and in their second year win a Supercross round, I'd call you crazy, but it happened. And get this, after 4 rounds, he's only 2 points out of the championship lead. Bomer still has the red plate, but he's only 2 points behind him. Jordan Smith very well could end up being your West Coast champion. I have to say that would be a huge upset considering going into the season, if you told me Jordan Smith was going to win the championship, which he's still a long ways from it, I'd be like, no, I still don't think he will because it's the human highlight reel. Who knows? I just don't think he can hold it together for 6 rounds. 3 of those rounds are East-West showdowns. So it's going to get wild in that 250 West for this championship. But Jordan Smith, man, if you ended the season right now, it is still a success on what he has done. Hayden Deegan, man, he just looked off. And I have a theory on this. So when you're the fastest guy and you go out there and you know you're all off season, you're focusing on Levi Kitchen, Joe Schmoda, and these guys that can kind of run your pace. When they're eliminated, and now you have Julian Beaumer, Jordan Smith, Cole Davies, guys that you really thought you had a significant speed advantage on, going as fast as you and battling you, it can hurt your confidence. Now, I don't think Deegan's struggling. I think these guys have just stepped up. But Deegan's going, wait a second, I had these guys. What's wrong with me? And it does mess with your head a little bit. He's going to get it together. And with 3 shootouts, this thing, he could easily well win all 3 and blow this thing wide open. But that, I think, is one of the things that he's struggling with right now is he's supposed to demolish these guys. And he's not demolishing these guys. They have stepped up. And I think it's messing with Deegan just a little bit. I really think this week off will do a ton to help Hayden Deegan and him kind of reset his mind and get back that confidence, that killer instinct, that belief that he is the guy again. I'm really interested to see what he does in Arlington after a week off. Check out Ride Strapped. We will be in Daytona Friday before Arena Cross at the Cooksey Cookout. We don't have a sign-up sheet yet, but we will have one soon. We're going to hang out, bench race. I'm sure we'll have some giveaways. We got some special guests, but it will be in Daytona prior to the Arena Cross on Friday night. Check out ridestrap.com, goggles, glasses, and shirts. If you have to ship anything, use Precision Transport. This is a family-owned company that believes in customer service, reasonable pricing. They're just good people, and I can't say that about a lot of shipping companies. So if you need to ship anything, you can trust Precision Transport has you covered. Hit up pretransport.com. Motobilia! This is probably my favorite sponsor to just go look at their website because I can't get enough of these old school memorabilia items that are all certified by Motobilia. They are giving away a classic jersey. I don't know which one yet. They're trying to go through and figure out which one they want to give away. But all you members, you are all entered to win the classic jersey we'll be giving away at the end of February. And for those of you that won the prizes for January, a couple of you have sent me your address and information. To the guy who won the gear, please send me your sizes and address so I can get this alias gear out to you. But check out Motobilia, some of the coolest stuff you'll ever see. So Julian Beaumer, he's still got the red plate, but he made some pretty big mistakes the last 2 weeks. I think the first mistake was on that first lap in Anaheim. I stand by the fact he should have sent Deegan off the track. You can say whatever you want about being dirty, riding clean. I saw it live and I said, I can't believe he missed that opportunity. I'm sure in hindsight, he probably would have. And then he gets to Arizona, and this is tough. Now, a lot of people call it your hometown advantage because you're in your hometown and your family. I call it your hometown disadvantage. It's tough. Now you have so many people pulling you in different directions. You know, all your family's in the crowd watching you. And every time you get in the lead, you hear the crowd. That can be a benefit, but it can also add some extra stress. And I think that got to him when he hole shot both the first and second main events and made those mistakes. I haven't seen him make a lot of those mistakes recently, and he made 2 of them in one night. I think Beaumer just needs to kind of reset and get back to just focusing on the job at task and getting it done and racing, because I think he got in his head just a little bit this weekend. But if you told me Julien Beaumer would crash on the first lap of both Triple Crown races and still have the red plate, I'd be like, no. All in all, he salvaged it very, very well. And he's still got the red plate. So he is very much alive in this championship. And there's a long ways to go with 6 rounds. Like, as Ricky would say, remember when I talked about it's 6 rounds with 3 shootouts. How about Cole Davies? Cole Davies is out there looking like a vet. Now, beginning early in the season, Coach Rob and I did a preview with Matt Hammer. We were talking about Cole Davies. I'm sorry, Coach, I got to throw you under the bus. He said Cole Davies was going to be outside the top 10. I kind of argued. I was like, I don't think so. I think he's too talented on too good of a team. I think he'll be 5 to 10. I figured he'd be battling with like Cody Schock, Marchbanks, and some of those guys who are not battling for the podium or wins, but they're really good. That's where I figured Cole Davies would be. Nope. This kid is legit. He's getting better every single week. He's playing on house money. Nobody expects him to win. He can get up there, race for the win. If he throws it away, we go, he's a rookie. What do you expect? All positive for this kid. I hope he enjoys his rookie season. It gets a lot tougher next year. After what he's done this year, there will be a lot of expectations. I think he's up for it, though. And then there's Joe Shimoda. This poor guy. He's having the best start to his career, and he gets hit by a pit board on accident. Breaks his fingers. One thing you can't question on Joe is his heart and his toughness. He has proved that. I really wish he'd just let this thing heal. Problem when you're racing injured out there is you possibly could re-break that finger and then you're back to square one. And if you do that enough times, that finger will heal kind of apart and it's going to cause problems in the future. I wish he'd just get it fixed. And the other thing that you have when you have an injury where you can't ride all week, you lose that base fitness. You're not on the bike. You don't have that timing, and it just takes away. And we're starting to see that, and I think it'll be even worse at Arlington because if you can't practice and ride while all these guys are upping their level every week, eventually that catches up. And I think we saw a little bit of that in Glendale, and I think we'll see more in Arlington. Joe has so much heart. Another reason I would have said just sit out is because this year, unlike other years, when I was looking at the schedule, there's not a 4 or 5 week break for the West guys. With this extra shootout that they've added to the series, I think their biggest break is 2 weeks. So they get 2 weeks off at some point in the series. In the past, they'd have 4 or 5 weeks. It was almost like a new season when they came back, and so you could totally recover. This is going to be a harder one for Joe to race through this injury and maintain the fitness and timing that he needs to be what he was at Anaheim 1. But anyway, good on Joe, and hats off. I wish he'd sit down. But I did notice at Glendale, the pit boards, they're right in the guys' faces again. I have a simple answer for this. If you don't want to get rid of pit boards, you don't want to do any of the other things I said, just get like a little, those rolling stairs they have? Get some rolling stairs, put them right next to where the mechanics are. So when they hold the pit boards, they're up about 3 or 4 feet. That's all we need. Have the pit boards up over the guys' heads about 3 or 4 feet. They don't have to worry about getting hit by the pit board, and it's probably easier to see. Come on, guys. Use some common sense here. It happened. You're going to wait for it to happen again? I know it was a freak accident, but if you continue to have pit boards in people's faces where they could easily make contact with the rider, it's only a matter of time before this